and welcome to What's Past This podcast. My name is Roberts.
And I'm Steve.
I'm Damian.
And I'm James.
And this is going to be where we'll be talking about everything relating to the world of acting, whether that's professional or amateur.
In future episodes, we'll be inviting on some guests. I'll just having a bit of a chat and having some fun.
And if that's your thing, please like and comments down below and subscribe to the channel.
And on this episode, we're going to be introducing ourselves and talking about how we got into acting and performing.
Okay, great. That's a great intro. Loved it for our first intro. Hope the viewers, you guys have loved that as well. We practiced that just the once, so...
So we're going to start with Robert. So Robert, how did you get into acting? Where did you start?
How I got into it was like when I was in high school. I wasn't really interested in drama or acting. In high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do as a career. All my friends did. So I think it was a bit of a rushed choice for me to choose carpentry because I went to college, did the course for that. But I was about halfway through that course and I was thinking, yeah, okay, this is fun, but I'm not really enjoying it. I want something more from life. So I tried other things like music and other things. But acting just came about really just from watching YouTube and watching TV shows and films. Just watching my favourite actors and watching all behind the scenes stuff and all the bloopers. And after watching all that, I was just like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. I want to try and do that myself. So without not knowing anything about it, I've learnt since then. But I applied for the performing arts course in college. But I didn't get accepted because at the time I didn't have any acting experience at all. They said to me, do you, that you might want to join an amateur acting group. So that's when I went back to them and I said, right, do you know of any around? And they said two, which was the Beaumaris Castle Players or the Ucheldre Rep. And Ucheldre Rep was just happened to be the first group that I contacted. Yeah, that's how I joined the group. And since then I've done various plays with the group. One of my favourite parts was the part where I had nothing to say, just it was just more acting. So that was fun. I quite enjoyed that part because it was quite it's more difficult than I think what people think, because you've got no words but you still have to be in that person. You still have to act even though you've got nothing to say. But now I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff like filming and the video editing and the YouTube pages and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. I'm still interested in acting. That's still my first choice of things to do. But yeah, that's my story broken down.
So had you ever had any kind of urge to perform in any capacity sort of before that, or was it just something? Because most people have some kind of bug for it from a young age.
Yeah.
But had you ever had that before?
No. Like I said, in high school, we had a drama class every Monday at the end of the day, the last lesson of the day. And I was just not interested at all. And especially with stage acting as well. I never thought, performing live in front of people. No, I'm not going to put myself under that pressure. My first love will always be the TV side of it and film, because I know with film you can do a scene at a time and you can cut it up, and you don't have to remember the whole script. But obviously with a play you do. So I thought, nah, I'll never put myself under that kind of pressure. But yeah, I tried it and I like it. But as I said, my first love will always be the TV side of it.
I think for me, actually, it was is sort of almost the opposite thing. That I think the kind of the pressure of the live performance is what I enjoy the most. So I've never been particularly interested in sort of TV or film or anything like that, just because I like the kind of energy of a live performance and the kind of spontaneity of it.
Yeah, I enjoy the live performing aspect even too. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, with live performing, I feel like that's better for me because I can feel the energy of the audience.
Yes,
and it powers me to move on.
Yeah,
I think with you, Steve, as well, given that you're generally playing sort of comic roles on stage, I wonder if that.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Mm.
But even in any role that I play, really, I kind of feed off the energy of the audience in a way. Like,
it feels good getting a reaction from the audience, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think especially me and Damien and Steve done quite a lot of panto, and obviously I think with panto, because it relies so heavily on audience participation, it really makes such a huge difference if the audience are into it or not. I think sometimes you can have a show, you know in the first minute really how the audience is, just from standing off stage watching the first scene happen, and you can feel the kind of the atmosphere, you can feel the mood of the audience straight away.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and if you turn it around and by the end the audience are really, really into it, then that's a great feeling. But it's so difficult sometimes to get to that stage. So, Steve, why don't you tell us about your how you got into acting?
Secondary school, I did performance of Scrooge, where I played Tim. It was in the Welsh language.
Tiny Tim.
Shut up.
Are there any photos or footage of your
I don't think
Tiny
there is,
Tim
thankfully. If there is, I'm not aware of it.
Well, you know that we would definitely make fun of you because of it, but
anyway, moving on. Yeah, I did that at school, and I did drama in school. Did a couple of scenes from Waiting for Godot, and then after finishing school, there was a bit of a gap before I did anything, and then I did a few bits then with the local young farmers group I was with, so some plays and sketches and pantomimes for them. And it was through one of the pantomimes where I performed it that I was given the opportunity to perform in a panto in Theatr Fach, which is a small Welsh theatre in Llangefni, and I also did a few other shows there with them as well. That was the first and only Welsh language pantomime I did.
Were the young farmers' plays, were they agricultural in theme, or were they just plays?
No, they weren't. No, they weren't really agricultural in theme. No, there was the odd bits, as you can imagine, but not completely.
Were they in Welsh language, or were they in?
Yeah, in Welsh language. Yeah.
All right. So everything you done, so you went to a Welsh language school.
I did.
So you didn't actually do any English language stuff until you joined the Ucheldre Rep. Is that right?
No, I did a couple of English ones in Theatr Fach.
Oh, right.
Yeah. There were a couple written by some local writers. There was a couple of years gap after finishing the Theatr Fach, and then I joined the Ucheldre Rep in August 2009, and had a small role in a show that they just started, a play called Not Now Darling, by the builder in that one, small role. I did a few other. I've done many shows with the Ucheldre Rep since then. I've even done a couple of shows with them in the Anglesey Drama Festival. One of the shows that we did there, Baby Sparklers, I won an award for best comedy performance.
Oh, nice.
I came quite close to getting best actor as well, but I got picked to the post on that one.
Did you have to go on stage like in the NCAs and make a speech?
Well, I went up to collect the trophy, but that was about it.
Oh, yeah.
And then 2 years down the line, then after that, I was asked to join Anvil Productions in one of their pantos. I think that was about 2015. Is that when we did Alice in Pantoland?
That was Alice in Pantoland, yes.
Was it 2015?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Something like that. And then with Anvil, I've also done other things with them as well. A couple of Shakespeare shows and Murder Mystery. And then Anvil disbanded. And me, Damian and James and a couple of others started our own company called Hereafter Productions. That's just over, it's about a year and a half old now. Going well. Another thing I've done as well is a local film called Method, written by a local director. Sadly, he's no longer with us. I played the character called Sparky in that one. I was the lighting and sound technician for a group of travelling actors.
And is that on YouTube?
It is on YouTube, yes. It's on the Vidius Films, that YouTube page.
Is it? Well, we're actually starting work on a new film at the moment with the Ucheldre,
yes.
which all four of us are in various roles.
Yep.
And the film is called...
Have you forgotten?
I've forgotten, yeah.
I remember.
What's the film called? I keep forgetting the name of it.
The film is called Homicidal, written by our group director Tom Waldwork. Yes, your role that you're playing is James is really the best role in the film, I think.
I'm playing well, I probably shouldn't say actually, but my role involves cross-dressing. I know that much. Which I think he wrote that role for me off the back of my role as Widow Twanky in our first Hereafter Panto Aladdin at Christmas. And I think he thought I'd make a good woman or something.
You love cross-dressing, James. Don't deny it.
I'd never cross-dressed before Christmas, and I'm worried I'm getting typecast.
What do you mean you're worried you're getting typecast? I played policeman God knows how many times, and you only played with a dame once.
Yeah, to be fair, Stephen, you always seem to play pompous but inept authority figures. I think is probably the best description of the type of part that you play. So they're usually comedic policemen, comedic detectives.
Oh yeah.
In
fact, one of my favourite roles really was as a policeman, funnily enough, in what I call the Pratt Mysteries, written by Peter Gordon. And there's the two that we've done is Death by Fatal Murder and Murdered to Death. And I was Constable Tompkins opposite a good friend of mine, Brian Davis, who played Inspector Pratt. He was brilliant at it. He was Pratt by name, Pratt by nature, basically, the character. Almost a bit Clouseau-esque. For once, I was sort of a straightish role rather than a comedic role. And there was one moment on it which I have no idea how I kept a straight face. We had a phone going off. Some of us were looking at each other thinking, like the audience members, until it was suddenly realised, first by Brian himself, and then I clicked then, because he turned and looked at me with this look on her face saying, "Oh crap, it's me." I had to keep a straight face, knowing full well that it's his phone that had gone off. It was in his pocket. And what was more funny about that was it was Brian that did the announcement at the beginning about switching your phones off.
It's still used, that recording, isn't it, in the start of rep shows? Because Brian sadly died quite young, didn't he, last year?
Yeah, he did.
And so it's quite nice that his voice is still there at the start of the shows.
Yes, it is.
In those little recordings.
Right. Mm.
There was a time that you fell flat on your face playing bottom in Midsummer
Oh
Night's
yes,
Dream.
yes, there was. Yes, we were in there. It was the Abbey, the old Abbey in Birkenhead. As I stepped up to onto the stage, I lost my footing, tripped, and went flat on my face on the stage. To which the whole audience roared with laughter.
And that's when everyone found out that Stephen does his own stunts.
Yes.
I've got two embarrassing ones that I can think of off the top of my head.
Go on then.
The first was I was doing West Side Story in Venue Cymru was school. It was in my last year of secondary school. And I had a scene, so it's in a big theatre that holds sort of over 1,000 people. It's probably about 1,000 people in the audience that night. And I was on stage, and it was the end of a scene, and I was the last character on stage. So I had a little brief line on my own. And as I started walking off, before the blackout started, I noticed that there was a pack of playing cards on the floor, and I knew that there was a big scene change about to happen. So I thought, I assumed it was just an empty cardboard box because there were cards on the table and stuff. So I thought I'll help the scene change people up by picking up the empty box and putting it on the table. So I sort of bent down and I sort of picked it up, and I didn't realise that it was half full of playing cards. So I spilt about 20 or 30 playing cards all over the stage right before the blackout. And then I got some scene change people swearing at me from the wings as I was walking up. But I carried on like a pro. And then the other one was more recently playing Widow Twankey, and I went on stage.
Oh, yes.
I had a costume change, so I took my wig off, changed my costume, and then forgot to put my wig on before I went on stage again. And I didn't realise for about a good 3 or 4 minutes into the scene that I wasn't wearing my wig. Everyone knew that I wasn't wearing the wig, and no one had it. Because I'd been into the audience earlier in that scene and been like talking to people, and no one had sort of said anything, or it was really embarrassing.
Yeah, you gotta make the joke out of it and make it work.
Yes.
Which, as I recall, you did make it work very well, and I did find it quite funny. As even though I was upstairs doing the lights and sound, I felt like if I was watching it as the audience, I'd have thought that was quite funny, like entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought it was meant to be part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like lots of self-referential kind of meta jokes in Panto anyway, so it kind of works with the style, I think.
I think it's time to bring Damian in and for him to tell the story of how he got involved. So yeah, take it away.
Yeah, I got started, I don't know, probably 2010, I think. And my foster parents were like, Damien, you got to do something. And against my will, they'd taken me to drama school and forced me to be there for a few days. And after a while, I started to enjoy it. So without them forcing me into something, I would not be here. I was there for quite a while doing various shows, like variety shows mostly. And after that, I've been doing shows for Anvil Productions, which Anvil owns Props Theatre School, such as Shakespeare, various Shakespearean plays, and pantomimes, murder mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think with Panto. I think you're pretty good with with the kids. I think playing these kind of larger than life things. I think the kids, larger than life characters, the kids tend to be kind of fascinated in. Like when he played the lion in Wizard of Oz, and Mr. Punch in Pinocchio, and things like that.
I'd say a lot of it is voice manipulation as well. Like I do, like
just reminding me of something.
I kind of change my voice to suit the character.
Yeah.
So with Punch, I'm supposed to talk like this. But with Cowardly Lion, I'm scared of everything.
Yeah, a bit similar to the lion in the film.
In the film, yes, but we shan't talk about that because copyright.
Yes. That reminded me of when I played Mr. Smee.
Yeah.
And after one of the shows, I think it was a group of Girl Guides or Girl Scouts or something. It was a lot of little girls, 6, 7, 8, something like that, I think. And a lot of the girls started running up to me, pretending they were the crocodile, going rah, rah, like that, and I had to pretend to be scared. I got stuck in a corner with a load of girls going rah, rah, rah at me, and I was there pretending to be scared with all them jumping and climbing on top of me, pretending they were crocodiles. And the rest of the cast were just looking, laughing.
Because
nobody
it's funny.
bothered to help me.
I think one of us did at the end, though. Towards the end of that. But it was just entertaining for us watching you in that way. So.
I'm sure it was, yes. Yeah.
There's all these little kids sort of piling on top of you. Yeah, I think that's the joy of panto distilled.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, with all these all these mistakes that we do, we can look back and laugh at later. I mean, that might be stressful at the time, and you might be wondering, oh, what do I do? What do I say, etc. And then, but you can look back afterwards and have a laugh about it.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a kind of formative experience that a lot of these shows are kind of, because they're small cast and the, small budget and everything. It's a bit of just a baptism of fire that you kind of get thrown in the deep end with these things, and you just have to figure it out. And sometimes it goes disastrously wrong, but I think you learn a lot from that.
That's the thing, though. If things go wrong, that's one of the beauties of theatre for me, because it's always something to look back on. It's always something to probably laugh at, like you said, Rob. And I don't know, it's always a story to tell.
I remember a friend of mine, he was a member of the Ucheldre, back to Brian Davis again, actually. And I remember him telling me that at a time he was, they were performing Midsummer Night's Dream. No, not Midsummer, The Tempest, I apologise. It was The Tempest he was doing. So Brian walks on to the bit, and the other two were nowhere to be found. So he stood there having to ad-lib Shakespeare. But he said it felt like hours. It was actually just about a minute. But I wouldn't even know where to start ad-libbing Shakespeare, in all fairness. Would any of you?
I think it takes a special skill to do that.
Yeah.
It does take a skilled actor to do that, and definitely Brian was more than able to pull that off.
Yeah. So, James, you going to tell us how you got started then?
Yeah. Well, I think I always had the kind of an interest in it from a very young age, along with music as well. That sort of music and acting have both been equal interests of mine since I was quite young. And I remember my parents take me to sort of pantos and things when I was very young as well. And obviously, primary school nativity plays and all that kind of stuff. And then my secondary school that I went to in Llandudno do a musical each year in Venue Cymru Theatre. So I was lucky enough to do 7 of those shows throughout secondary school each year, and it was kind of the highlight of my year. Just remember how overwhelmingly exciting it was when I was 12 years old to be going into professional theatre for the first time, with a proper band and lights and sound and set and all that kind of stuff. It was really, really exciting. And yeah, it just never really wore off. I focused on music. I had a place to study music at uni, and I took a gap year, and it was during the gap year that I joined Anvil, which is where I met these guys. Where I met Damian and Stephen. I've been in props theatre school for a couple of years when I was quite young. Me and Damien did meet at one point.
Yeah, was it for Peter Pan you came back to help on the stage managing side?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So I just kind of randomly got this message from Anne, who ran Anvil, out of the blue one day, and asked if I could go and help backstage with their panto that year. And I was like, what the hell, I'm not doing anything, why not? And here we are. So yeah, I joined Anvil and really got into the whole world of it, really. Started watching the National Theatre broadcasts and RSC broadcasts, and going on trips and seeing lots of plays and all that kind of stuff, and started writing music for shows as well with Anne, which I'm really grateful to her for giving me that opportunity. And yeah, it's kind of how I got here.
And what are your hopes for the future?
World peace, solving the climate crisis. That kind of thing.
No, but I meant for your own personal career.
Oh, personally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd love to be doing sort of carry on with what I'm doing, composing for shows and things like that. Since the coronavirus lockdown, we've been doing sort of audio dramas, and I've been really enjoying that. So yeah, I don't know really. I just want to be able to carry on doing what we're doing really, and hopefully turn it into something that is a living.
James is one of these people who likes to write the theme tune and sing the theme tune.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that. Yeah.
The first song that I wrote for an Anvil Panto, which was Robin Hood, and the song was called Springtime, and it was just the most earwormy song I've ever written, and it's now our sort of vocal warm up song.
Yes.
And it's still an ongoing joke between the cast as well.
Oh yeah, Damien and James. Who people, actors or whatever, inspired you?
For stage, kind of, I mean, the whole National Theatre broadcasts and the RSC broadcasts are so good because it means you can. Yeah, people like us that live in rural North Wales get to see these big shows from the West End and from sort of bigger regional theatres and things like that. So I some of those things, like the first one I watched was No Man's Land with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, and it was like, you know, obviously names that are known from Star Trek and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, but, you know, seeing them on stage, amazing. So some of those people like that. We saw David Troughton at the RSC doing Titus Andronicus. He was amazing. Some of these people that we've seen in TV and, you know, and stuff like that, but seeing them on stage in their sort of natural habitat is a pleasure. Imelda Staunton's another one that's amazing. Some of the TV actors we've seen on stage haven't been quite so good, but we'll save that for another day.
We shan't get into that subject this episode, James.
Who inspired you then, Damien?
I'd say the two actors that inspired me was Sir Ian McKellen. His role in Macbeth actually hooked me the most in RSC's Macbeth.
Oh, yeah.
He was quite young at the time as well.
Yeah.
And the second person is David Tennant.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, again, I loved his 10th Doctor. I loved the
Nice.
Doctor role. Like, it just was brilliant for me. And I was just in awe at both of them. I was just in awe looking at them.
They're two pretty good. It's pretty hard to beat them, really. Yeah, so I think those two are good choices there.
Shall we say before we finish, so this has been our first episode. I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week, but at some point we're going to start having some guests on, some people that we know, perform with and talk to, and I think we're going to start with Tom, hopefully.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good choice to start off.
He has lots of stories about his years in the West End and his years as a professional actor. It's always interesting. So
All of that to come.
Yeah.
But first, if you enjoyed the first episode and would like to hear more, then please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also leave a comment down below telling us what you think of the first episode.
We'll be posting on Ucheldre Rep YouTube page and Hereafter Productions Bandcamp.
The links to those and to our personal YouTube accounts will be down below, as well as our websites. And on saying that, it's goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
And we're going to play you out with that song that we talked about earlier. It's the first song that I wrote for any show, and it's called Springtime. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.